Welcome to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Got another good show lined up for you this week, and I know you'll think so after viewing it. It's a clip show, our best of. For all the guests we've had, we've got some fantastic interviews. If you've missed them the first time they aired, we're going to rerun them for you tonight. And also, if you have seen them, enjoy them again. So thanks for tuning in. I know you'll enjoy it. And here we go with Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara.
His hands were hard and stained with dirt from breaking ground. He's the heartbeat of the heartland, and everybody knows if a ship ever comes in, it's coming in and rolls. He'll make it roll from sun up to sundown. He knows how to make Mother Nature come around with a saddle full of faith in fields full of love. He'll give it hell, and with a little help from above, he'll make it grow. They'll make it grow.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we are participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning back in. As you can see on the screen, you got my buddy Jordan Canzeri joining us, former Hawkeye running back from 2011 to 2015. Hawkeye running back, great. I'll tell you, 984 yards your senior season, Jordan, almost 1,000. You had 12 touchdowns that year, had a great freshman year in 11, got nicked up in spring ball in 12, and then came back with a vengeance 13, 14, 15, that Big Ten championship game. We'll get into all that. But first and foremost, Jordan, thanks so much for joining me. And secondly, how's everything going with you, my friend?
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Dave. We're real excited to be here, and things are going well for me, back home in New York, and still getting my time to go and visit Iowa when I can. So things have been really good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. And thank you. As you see in the bottom of the screen, or just did, Jordan's information as well as mine. But Jordan, we talk about spring football, and I've talked the last couple of weeks to a quarterback that you played with. And of course, you had a couple different quarterbacks during your time at Iowa with James Vandenberg and then Jake Rudock and then CJ Beathard. So let's get into all that with spring ball. You've got a story about spring ball. Before we get to all the successes, of course, there are stumbling blocks. That's why it's athletics, as you nod with me there. And so talk about that tough spring, if you would, going into your sophomore year, and then we'll move on to more positive things, please.
Yeah, and thank you again. For me, spring ball, it can be a little bittersweet topic to talk about. To some people, it might seem, the story and everything that I went through was a negative, but it was definitely a blessing in disguise. So after I was able to start and play in the Insight Bowl freshman year against Oklahoma, that following spring ball, I was named the starting running back. And so, super excited, super amped up. Back home, people were telling me that I wasn't even going to play till my senior year, and got to play freshman year, playing the bowl game. So, I was ready. But first day of contact when we were in pads, I tore my ACL. First major injury for me, real tough, didn't even know what to do. And it was just something that, again, it just threw me off the rails. But luckily I had, great parents, my mom sending me Bible quotes, my dad just, keeping me up and positive, that I just took it as a challenge. I saw it as something that I wanted to come back stronger and faster and a better player than I was before. And I'm not 100% sure, but if my memory serves me well, I was told I was one of the fastest ACL recoveries they had. I think I was back at like 4.5 months, close to 5. But Coach Ferentz made the smart decision, redshirted me that year, and the blessing in disguise was, if it wasn't for that, I would not have been able to be a part of the 2015 Rose Bowl season. So it's definitely, again, something that I'll never forget, but happy that it happened and changed me as a person.
You know, you're a 2,000-yard career rusher at Iowa. Again, as I mentioned, your senior year, that magical season, 12-0 of 2015, and losing a tough game in the Big Ten championship, but then going to the Rose Bowl. And, you know, a tough loss there again, but still, almost 1,000 yards your senior season, 12 touchdowns that last year. But you had, you know, you take a look at your body of work. You had to play, as we talked about, with 3 different quarterbacks, and we talk about spring ball. Everybody wants to create a controversy, or a lot of the fans or media will say, oh, is Alex Padilla going to get the snaps, or is Spencer Petras going to stay the starter, or is Deuce Hogan now the guy? And you played with that transition from quarterback to quarterback to quarterback, and you went through a controversy a little bit with Jake Rudock, and then moving into C.J. Beathard with Kirk Ferentz making that switch, and then Rudock transferring to Michigan. So talk about the transition, especially as a skill position player as a running back, what you have to go through with all that noise somewhat of quarterback changing, but also playing with different quarterbacks. That's got to be an adjustment as well.
Yeah, when you're playing with you know, guys from different sizes, backgrounds, you definitely get, you know, a different style of play. But what is just as important as kind of how they play was that chemistry of the relationship you had. So with Vandenberg, you know, we didn't have as close knit of one because I kind of just stepped in later in that season once after Marcus Coker. And you know, he was funny because he would like to, you know, pick on my size, but you know, he was also a guy that would help me out. You know, he would make sure that I knew what I was doing, ask and make sure as well. And, you know, he was a good leader. He was a guy that, you know, showed by example. But with going in with Rudock, you know, me and him were actually really good friends, still are to this day. And, you know, he's getting married this year and I'm going to be a part of it. And, you know, I love him. So me and him were also very close off the field. So that was kind of easy, where whatever he needed, his game style, he would communicate very well with me on the field. And we just, you know, had that vibe where it kind of felt very easy. And he was another guy who tried to not only just act right and speak with his actions, but, you know, he was a guy who would try to get everybody going, would get us to do the extra workout, you know, would be that also that Raha guy, get everyone going as well. But, you know, it was very difficult when that transition happened. You know, there was a lot of resentment from a bunch of players towards him just for making that step and move. But, you know, he's got to do what, you know, is best for his case and his career in that point. And then going in with knowing CJ was the next guy up, we were already pretty cool, but I just wanted to also make sure that he knew that, you know, yeah, Jake was my boy off the field too, but I'm here to win. I want us to win, and I want me and you to have a great relationship as well. And CJ, if anyone knows him personally and just see the type of guy he is, he's just super easy to get along with as it is, and a great guy as well. So I didn't really feel any tension, tough feelings, anything like that. He, again, was just a guy who wanted to win. So, and CJ was the same, making sure we had the extra summer workouts, getting guys in extra, you know, doing everything that he could. And it showed, especially with my senior season, his junior, us going 12-0, you know, he was a great leader, great character. He also was, you know, hell of a player with the way he ran too. So definitely was nice to at least see the differences in different players and experience the playing styles of several different quarterbacks.
Jordan, I really appreciate you taking us inside that and kind of talking with the external with other players, but let's get back to you. That Illinois game, you had, as you're smiling, you know what I'm talking about, 43 carries, 256 yards. You know, I've talked to many former athletes at my time in Kansas City at Fox Sports Radio, either pro athletes, high-level college athletes like yourself. Do you realize you're in a zone like that? You know, you're thinking 43 times you carry the ball. For Kirk Ferentz, that's a lot traditionally. Usually he splits up his carries. You know, are you thinking, man, I'm getting tired, this is a lot? Or you're just in the moment, in the zone, and you're not realizing really what's happening, except I'm having a pretty big day. That's special, 43 carries, 256 yards against Illinois.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I did not know and did not feel it as well. And during that time, I think it was especially that 11 play drive. When I think, I got 11 handoffs consecutively, I think. But I did not feel like I was tired. It's something that I'll still never, to this day, I can feel, the noise and get the chills from thinking about it. But every time I got up, I could just hear everyone screaming and cheering. And also as well, just knowing what point in time of the game it was that, we really had to get the job done. My line was blocking unbelievable for me. CJ's making the right read. And coach is making the right calls. And I just did what I had to do and ran straight. So for me, I'd say it was a little easier on my part. But yeah, it was an amazing feeling. And I tell everyone, I don't care what anyone else says, we got the best fans in the country. So I would say I felt it the next day, but during the game, not at all.
That is great to hear, and agree with you on the fans comment, that's for sure. So James, in the last couple minutes I have with you, Jordan, for this week in this segment in this show, talking about the quarterbacks and James Vandenberg and Jake Rudock and CJ Beathard. Now back to your story. What have you been up to? I know it's tough to close your college career out with two tough losses, the one to Michigan State in the Big Ten Championship, then of course the Stanford in the Rose Bowl. Then you move on to your tryouts and other things post your Iowa career. Let everybody know what you've been up to the last 3 years since your playing days at Iowa. Gosh, we're talking almost, 6 years now since your playing days.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Been a while, but my knees would like to remind me. I'll give a little background from for those that don't know what I kind of went through. So it was tough for me being done after leaving Iowa, because I knew when it came to the teams looking at me, one, size would be the difference and issue, but I was hoping that, my play would prove otherwise. But so yeah, senior year was tough when going down after the Illinois game with my high ankle injury against Northwestern, missed the rest of that game, missed Maryland, missed Indiana, came back kind of, probably 65-70% against Minnesota, was good against Purdue, Nebraska, and then, as you said, re-injured during the Big Ten championship. And that was just a really tough loss, as we know. And again, in the Rose Bowl, I didn't feel close to 100, but asked them to, shoot me up with what they could, were able to, and just let me get out there. So I knew that going in that it would be tough kind of just for the resume. And obviously, looking, if I was able to be a part of those games, who knows what could have happened. But the one thing I will say that I've said in multiple interviews, but every time I get the opportunity, I love to just reminisce, is even though the Big Ten Championship and the Rose Bowl were two of the toughest losses that I've ever had to experience in my life, it was also very nostalgic because, again, with our fans best in the country, you can't tell me that you can find another team where at the very end of the game, even though they lost, you get standing ovations. Yeah. No one was leaving. Everyone stayed. And just to hear everyone cheering for us, it was just remarkable. And I even remember the Rose Bowl when, even though we're getting our hands together, about to take the swarm into the locker room, I just stood there for a moment and looked around and just was like, wow. Yes, we lost. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's painful. But just to soak something like that in is, something that I'm very blessed to have been a part of. So very thankful for that. After that, got my opportunity with going to a rookie mini camp with the Chiefs, the Browns, and then also had a tryout with the LA Rams. But after that, took the chance to go and play in Japan with fellow Hawkeye Sean Draper in the X League. With the Kobe City Finnies. Was there total of 2 years, finally got to come home and again did it all. AFL indoor, CFL tryouts, got injured there as well. And tough run, but like I said, you got to look at the bright side, and was blessed to at least have the opportunities that I had.
So you're putting some things together. I know in the last minute we have here with you for this week in this segment. Going to definitely have you back in the future, Jordan Canzeri. But let everyone know what you're up to these days, and looking forward to the future. You've got some new projects in the horizon here. Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. What I've been doing recently is a couple little ventures. I work at an alternative learning program school for at-risk youth here in my home city, and as well, I was going to a separate school, same part of my Troy City School District, for an after-school program called Young Men of Purpose / My Brother's Keeper. And then also working with one of my close family friends and coach, Tony, up at a gym called Palace Training, where I've been training athletes, the head strength and speed coach up there. It's been really, really fun to help kids develop, teach them things that I was learning in college and even playing in pros. And to see those guys develop and change has been also a very cool thing to be a part of. And starting some of my own stuff. So as you kind of alluded to, it's in the beginning phases, but very excited to, get a part of, again, being example, helping student athletes that may not have those positive role models around them, may not know how to kind of navigate when it comes to recruiting and making themselves the type of player that you kind of need to be to play at the next level, and then hopefully beyond as well. And starting something that I will be calling the Underdog Edge. And again, very excited to slowly get that up and rolling. I'm going to be launching, the Instagram and Facebook accounts within the next 2 weeks, and hopefully just good things come from there. But as I mentioned, just been able to work with, these at-risk kids, different backgrounds, helping these kids develop on the field, off the field, academically, socially. It's just been a very good opportunity to.
Well, Jordan, we appreciate you taking the time and giving us the opportunity to hear your story. And again, check all of Jordan's social media out at the bottom of the screen there, along with mine. This is Jordan Canzeri. Thank you so much, my friend, former Hawkeye running back. Great. What a career. What a story. Look forward to catching up with you in the very near future. Jordan Canzeri, great stuff, my friend. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Can't wait for what's next. You have a good one.
I will, and you do the same. Yeah, go Hawks indeed. For Jordan Canzeri, I'm Dave O'Hara. Back with more Hawkeye to close out the show in just a moment.
One word means more to farmers than any other: yield. Nobody knows this better than your friend in the field, Mershman Seeds. With industry-leading seed treatments like Tripidity ST, you'll see faster emergence and more bushels per acre. Become a part of the Mershman family and see the difference in your field. Ask your dealer for superiority. Mershman Seeds.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Farming makes a positive difference in my life. I love to take care of the yards and the flowers in the garden, but I also like the opportunity that I have now that I can get in the combine and help when they need that. During the fall, one of the main things that I take care of is hauling grain to the elevator or hauling it here onto the farm and getting it in the bins. Women in general just have more opportunities that they can show their strengths today on the farm.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, my buddy Jeff Horner joining us. Been a while since we've caught up with Jeff. Well, he's been a little busy going to the Elite Eight and the Division II Men's Basketball Championships in Evansville, Indiana. And Jeff is just rocking and rolling. Coach of the Year honors in the GLVC Conference in the region. Had a Player of the Year in Cade McKnight in a conference in the region, an All-American. He's got a former player in the NBA, and Broderick Thomas playing for the Cavaliers and starting occasionally, getting a meaningful 30-plus minutes a night. Jeff, there's a lot going on in your world, but the one thing where you and I left off a couple weeks ago, first of all, thanks for joining us as always, and glad to see everything's going well for you. But last time we talked, you were number one, as you're smiling, on the all-time Iowa Hawkeyes assist list. And again, Jeff is in the top 10 of most meaningful offensive categories in Iowa Hawkeye basketball history. But you and I joked a little bit. We knew it was a foregone conclusion that J-Bo was going to pass your all-time assist record. He ends up with 639. You have 612. So you're firmly ensconced in the number 2 position. So let's transition on to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Get your season wrap on this. I know you mentioned to me on radio yesterday that when we do a radio show Monday before the TV show you and I do together, and you talked about Mackenzie Meyer being Joe Wieskamp's fiance. We all know that. And you said that Mackenzie's parents still live in Mason City, just a couple doors down from your sister in Mason City. What are your thoughts? What do you know? Does Joe Wieskamp come back to the Hawkeyes next year? Is he on his way? Jeff, you got a chance to break some news here. I see you laughing. Come on now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know, a whole lot about that. Joe's a pretty quiet kid. He keeps to himself, that type of thing. So, but I think whichever way he decides, it's going to be, what's best for him, that type of thing too. So, I do believe that Mackenzie is in dental school or something down there in Iowa City. So that could be a good sign for Hawkeye fans for sure.
Yeah, she's a former Iowa Hawkeye basketball, playing great as well for Bluter's bunch. So, yeah, that's if and when they get married, and if and when they have kids, those kids will come by it naturally too, as we talk about with Caleb Schlock too. So let's do this. Let's talk about last night's championship game. Again, we record this on Tuesday afternoon. It airs on Friday, and of course online on Sundays and afterwards on DaveO'HaraSports.com. But Jeff, let's talk about Gonzaga. The way they were. Let's just be honest. They were controlled last night by Baylor winning the championship. Of course, all the Hawkeye fans want to regale themselves and go back to December when the Hawks lost 100-88 to Gonzaga, and what might have been type of thing. And the Baylor-Gonzaga regular season game before that Iowa game got postponed because of COVID. And now we got the game we wanted in December with Baylor and Gonzaga. But Jeff, I think Gonzaga played their championship game on Saturday night when it won in the overtime half-court buzzer over UCLA. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the way that played out last night in the championship game with Baylor controlling Gonzaga.
Yeah, I kind of just think Baylor came out, punched them in the mouth with their energy. I thought their energy was far and above Gonzaga's at that point. And when that happens, and they're making shots, they're pretty tough, because the defensive side of the ball for Baylor was absolutely phenomenal. It was a joy to watch, that's for sure. But then on the other end, they're making shots. Gonzaga even went zone, and they got to the high post a few times and hit some 15-foot jumpers. And then at that point, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? We just tried going zone. We didn't play a whole lot this year, and I just thought, like I said, I thought Baylor's energy just came out, and they just really took it to them right away. And I think it does a little bit have to do with a little bit Saturday night, where Gonzaga plays an emotional game where they go into overtime. Baylor doesn't have to go into overtime, that type of thing. And so it can wear and tear on you. We're in April, so we started you basically start in August, September, and you're going till now. So at some point guys wear down, that type of thing. But that's why everyone talks about having deeper teams is such a big advantage for sure.
Yeah, well stated. And Jeff, I got to ask you as we close up here in the last couple of minutes, again, I mentioned with Jordan Bohannon, you and I talked about the name, image, and likeness when that court ruling, or if it goes to a vote. 8 states have already passed it for college athletes, and J-Bo could come back for another year conceivably. Luka Garza could, but probably won't. But Fran's cupboard is not bare, and I want to forewarn you, Jeff, that I may have you back or will have you back this spring or summer, because as you and I talked about on radio yesterday, the transfer portal is going to be big, and we'll see if Fran hits that. We know Jack Nungy's already leaving the Hawkeyes and transferring, understandably so, to be near his family after his dad suddenly and tragically passed away this season, and Jack's injuries, so he's going to transfer to a college or university nearer to his family in Indiana. But I would like to have you back later this summer to talk about transfer portal and what may be upcoming for the Hawkeyes either later this spring or summer. But they do have a lot coming back with Keegan Murray and Patrick McCaffrey, Connor McCaffrey, if and when possibly Joe Wieskamp. The cupboard's not bare even before we get into the transfer portal or new guys coming in, Jeff.
Yeah, I just think, the transfer portal is an interesting situation. Obviously, every situation is different for each kid, whether that be, like Jack Nungy's situation where his father passes away, he's had a million injuries, that type of thing. And, obviously he just wants to get back and be closer to his family, those types of things. And then, you got a kid that maybe didn't play as much as he wanted to and wants the opportunity to play even more. Or, sometimes you have coaches who tell kids, we're not, this isn't going to be a place for you, that type of thing. So there's just so many different situations that happen with the transfer portal where, I've kind of just come to terms that, you just want kids to be happy.
Congratulations to you. Thanks again for joining us all season long and fitting us into your busy schedule.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Dave.
My pleasure as always. Thanks again for tuning in to our clip show with Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. The best of the best. Man, we've got some great interviews and some great folks joining us. So I'm glad you got to see that for the first time or watch it again for a second or third time. Love to have you viewing the show. And thanks again to our advertisers and sponsors who make this show possible. And thanks to you for tuning in. So for Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, that's all from me. Thanks to all of you.